the Trade Union Act of 1926. And before that, I think like we'll start recording. Already started recording? Yes. One more message. In the Industrial Dispute Act, we were discussing about some of the union activities, and again and again we were discussing about uh, uh, the union of the workmen, and they'll go for a strike, and they'll demand for the wages or increment, or like those part. I mean, the workmen can be laid off, and they can go for and union can represent the case, and those part we were discussing. Uh, the Trade Union Act of 1926 is passed in order to regulate this like union activities, and in order to give some of the privileges and rights to the union the members. I mean, in order to give some recognition to this like a trade union, like a Trade Union Act 1926 is passed. Uh, but the union, in fact, the Trade Union Act of 1926 doesn't compels the workmen or union to register under like a Trade Union Act of 1926. What I mean to say, the registration is not compulsory. Registration of the union is not at all compulsory under the Trade Union Act of 1926. But of course, in case if you register the union according to the Trade Union Act of 1926, the union will enjoy some of the benefits and the privileges. Certain rights they can enjoy under the Trade Union Act of 1926. I mean, very small legislation. We'll just discuss about the meaning of a union here, a trade union, and we'll discuss about the registration of the union, trade union, how to register and how to get the certificate of registration, and what exactly the impact of it. And we also discuss about the section 15 and 16 of the act, which deals with the political fund and general fund. Why political fund should be maintained, and why general fund, for what purpose general funds can be used, for what purpose political fund can be used, and those part we'll discuss in this the Trade Union Act of 1926. I think like in one or two sessions we can complete the discussion on the entire the Trade Union Act of 1926 in case if you cooperate. We're moving ahead. We'll discuss what exactly the object of this the Trade Union Act of 1926. The very object of 1926, the Trade Union Act of 1926, is made in respect conditions governing the registered the trade union. I mean, while registering the trade union, what all the conditions need to be satisfied, and what all documents need to be submitted, and how many members should subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union, and that we'll discuss under the Trade Union Act of 1926. And what exactly the obligations imposed upon registered trade union. Once after the getting the certificate of registration, what is the obligation on the registered trade union? So that we're going to discuss under this. And what exactly the rights and privileges of the registered trade union. So that also we're going to discuss under the Trade Union Act of 1926. So very simple the legislations. So first of all, discuss the section 2H, the meaning of a trade union. Somebody can read this. Very simple to understand the trade union. Anybody want to read?
Trade union means any combination, whether temporary or permanent, formed primarily for the purpose of regulating the relations between workmen and employers, or between workmen and workmen, or between employers and employers, or for imposing restrictive conditions on the conduct of any trade or business, and includes any federation of two or more trade unions.
Yeah, I mean, trade union means it is any combination. See, they have not used the word an association. They used the word a combination. A word combination which has very wider interpretation compared to the association. That's what trade union means. It may be any combination, not exactly an association. It is any combination, whether formed temporarily or permanently, primarily for the purpose of regulating the relationship between, very, very important. You know, what is the purpose of forming the union? To regulate the relationship between workman and employer, workman and workman, between the employer and employer. So not only to regulate the relationship between workman and workman, or workman and employer, but also to regulate the relationship between employer and employer, and for imposing restrictive conditions on the conduct of any trade or business. In case, I mean, the very purpose, in order to impose certain conditions on your trade or the business, and which also includes the federation or federation of like two more unions. The two more unions join together and they may form one federation. So that also we can say that it is a trade union under section 2H. So to be put it in a very simple word, the trade union means it is any combination in order to regulate the relationship between employer and employer, workman and workman, and workman and the employer, provided that the following is not a trade union. It should not affect the following things, because any agreement between partners as to their business. Suppose if there is an agreement between the two partners, it's exactly the partnership business. In case if there is any agreement between a partners, such, I mean, trade union should not affect this like agreement between the partners. I mean, this agreement is not a union. Next, an agreement between an employer and those employed by him as to such employment. If there is any agreement between an employer and a workman, suppose if there is any service agreement, what is to say that? So if there is any service agreement between an workman and an employer, so this service agreement should not affected by the union, forming a union. And this particular act should not affect on, see, the agreement in consideration of a sale of goodwill of a business. So anybody want to, as a MBA graduate, you should know the meaning of a goodwill. What is that, the goodwill of the business? Anybody want to answer? Sorry? Sorry? Goodwill of the business means what?
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear. Jennifer.
Hello. It can be any concept.
I can't hear you. Anybody want to tell me the meaning of a goodwill? Deepshika?
Reputation.
Yeah, fine. Who's that?
Reputation.
Yeah, reputation,
yes.
or a good name. Good name of the business. So the brand name of the business. Brand name. Suppose Sony is a brand name. So goodwill is also can be considered as an asset of any business. So those who study in an accountancy, they might be knowing.
Yes,
or
sir.
commerce student, they might
Yes.
be knowing. Goodwill is an asset now. Asset.
Yes.
Goodwill is it's a brand. So even that is also should be considered as an asset. So now, I mean, for your understanding, we are not going to discuss about goodwill here. So any agreement in relation to the sale of goodwill, or with respect to the instructions in a profession, trade, or handicraft, in case if there is any matter pertaining to the profession, trade, or handicraft, so it is not a trade union. It is this particular act, I mean, trade union act should not affect the following the matter, following these things, because if there is an agreement between the partners, or agreement between workmen and the employer, or when there is an agreement or in relation to the sale of the goodwill of the business, or with respect to the instructions of any, I mean, say for example, the business or a trade. So this particular act should not affect these things. But for your understanding, in case if you have any confusion with this part of this particular section, just read it this much. That's it. The union means it is any combination, whether temporarily or permanent, in order to they regulate the relationship between these people. That's it. So I hope you know the literal meaning of a union. So then I think like we'll move ahead to the registration part. Is it okay if I move to the next slide to the registration part? After that, you'll understand in a better way.
Yes, sir.
If you have any questions, you can stop me and you can ask questions. Yes, registration of the union, very, very important. See, why you should know about a registration of the union? Because see, you can be a consultant. Suppose you are working for some organization and you want to guide the workmen or employees to register, how to register the trade union and those aspects. So you should know like how to, what exactly the process of registration, or else suppose if you want to register the union under the Trade Union Act of 1926, so you should know what exactly the formality, what is the process, how to register, how to approach the registrar for the registration of the trade union. So in this case, it is very, very important to know the fundamentals of registration of the unions, trade union. Anybody want to read? Yeah, please. I think Divya. Fast. Deepshika, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, read it.
Registration of trade unions. Section 3. Appointment of registrars. The appropriate government shall appoint a person to be the registrar of trade unions for each state.
See, it is left to the appropriate government. Once again, we discussed about appropriate government. So either state government or the central government is the appropriate government. So state government shall appoint a registrar. For each state, there will be one registrar, appointment of registrar, because registration of the trade union will happen only through registrar. You can register your union only by applying an application in form number A, before the registrar. So who must appoint the registrar? So appropriate government shall appoint, not may appoint, shall appoint one person to be the registrar for each state. One state there will be one registrar. However, you can read it. Yes. Continue.
The appropriate government may appoint as many additional and deputy registrars of trade unions as it thinks fit for the purpose of exercising and discharging under the superintendence and direction of the registrar.
See here shall appoint, here may appoint. For each state, appropriate government shall appoint a registrar. However, appropriate government may appoint any additional or any deputy registrar. In order to coordinate the functions of the union or registration, the government may also appoint additional or deputy registrars. What is the purpose? In order to exercise and discharge certain under the superintendence or direction of the registrar, in order to do exercise certain functions with respect to the registration. So because see, in one particular state there are so many unions and there may be so many applications. In order to assist all these functions, the government may appoint additional or deputy registrars. Yeah.
The appropriate government specify and define the local limits within which any such additional or deputy registrar shall exercise and discharge the powers and functions so specified.
Exactly. The appropriate government must specify and define the local limits. For example, appropriate government, say state government appointed one additional registrar to the both the district, like the Dakshina Kannada and the Udupi districts, so they nominated the additional deputy. So the government will decide what exactly their jurisdictions, what is the jurisdictions, what is their limits. So their limits may pertain to the Dakshina Kannada and Udupi, or else in case if they want to appoint additional registrar for Dakshina Kannada separately, so they can do that. They can do that. It is left to the appropriate government to decide. So what is the purpose? In order to assist the registrar. That's it. So section 3 just deals with an appointment of registrar. The appropriate government must nominate or appoint the registrar. What is the purpose of appointment of registrar? Registrar, the duty of the registrar to register the union, trade union. Whenever application received by the registrar, so what he'll do, he'll accept it, he'll inquire whether all document they submitted or whether rules of the trade union is correct and everything is correct. So he's going to register the same. Any questions here?
No, sir.
Okay. So now mode of registration. How are we going to register before the registration? How are we going to submit? This is what they submit the application. This is important. Yes. Want to read this?
Section 4, Mode of Registration. Any 7 or more members of a trade union may, by subscribing their names to the rules of the trade union and by otherwise complying with the provision of this Act with respect to registration, apply for registration of the trade union under this Act.
Yeah, see, how many members? Here, if you want to register your union, now 7 members should subscribe your names to the rules of the trade union. You should form a rules of the trade union and 7 or more members. What does it say? So in order to form a union, at least there must be 7 or more people. What we'll do here, 7 or more members, what they'll do, see, in unions, let say for example, tomorrow you want to register one union. Say for example, I'll take an example of MIM union. It is a hypothetical MIM union. Now like you want to register this union. What you'll do? At least say suppose you are having, so suppose like in this MIM you are having, say for example, like 1,000 employees. 1,000 employees. Out of this 1,000 employees, let say for example there are almost some members in this like union, but in order to register before the registrar, what you need to do, at least like this 7 members, not workmen I'm talking about. So this particular out of 1,000 workers, say all people may not join the union. Let like there are almost like 200 members, they are the members of this union. They are willing to, or they are members of this union. 200. Out of this 200, now 7 members while applying, they must subscribe their names. So what I should say that, so they are the subscribers. These 7 people must subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union, and along with the application, they need to submit the same. 7 members, they should subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union and they should submit the same. Have you understood? For your understanding now, so 7 members, they must subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union, not the workmen we are talking about. We are talking about members of the union. Yeah, read it.
Provided that no trade union of workmen shall be registered unless at least 10% or 100 of the workmen, whichever is less, engaged or employed in the establishment or industry with which it is connected are the members of such trade union on the date of making of application for the registration.
Recently, this particular provision was added to the section 4. This means above, I mean, this particular sentence says that what it says, 7 members, they should subscribe their names to the union. Now, they will, what they'll do, they now like 7 members, they already subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union. What do I say that they are the subscribers to the rules of the trade union. Now, along with these 7 members who are the subscribers, while applying before the registrar, they should satisfy before the registrar that they must show the document before the registrar that at least 10% of the entire total workmen or 100 workmen, whichever is less, they are the members of your union. That you need to prove. Now, let's say, for example, say like Deepika want to form a union of your class. Say Deepika want to form a union. Like there are totally, I said, let it give an example of say. Let now say for example the example of in an organization what Deepika was working is working, like there are like 1,500 employees, workmen, 1,500 employees, say. Now, what this particular provision says, out of this 1,500 workmen, at least 10% of this, 10% of this, how much it comes? 10%? Hmm?
150.
Oh, so much time you want to say 10% of 1,500?
150.
150, 150, or what is the condition? Or 100, whichever is less, or 100. Which is less here? 150, 100? 100 is
100.
less. Now, at least like 100 members must be there as a members of your union. Whose union? Let I said Deepika want to form a union. Deepika, now what she need to prove? What she need to prove? Now Deepika want to file an application before the registrar. One document what you need to take? She will take a 7 subscribers name and she'll say that so these are all 7 members. They subscribes to the rules. Along with that, she also should take or proof or to submit before the registrar that at least yes 150 150 or like 100, like whichever is less, I said, are the members of my union. That she need to prove before the registrar. Is it clear? If you have any doubt, I'll clear it and I'll move, or else I'll move. Manali, what you understood?
Sir,
Manali, what you understood? Have you understood? If you're not understood, I told like if you understood, say yes. If you're not understood, ask question. That's it. And don't be dumb.
Can you give one example for second point?
Who's this? Divya?
Navin, sir.
Sorry?
Navami,
Navami?
sir.
Navami. Navami, suppose you want to form your own union within an organization in which you are working. Now, I hope first condition, hope you understood. You need to take like 7 members and they must sign your name or subscribe their names to the rules of your trade union. So you know that while forming a union, you will frame a rules and object and those stuffs. And now like 7 members, they are the subscribers that you need to satisfy. One document is ready now. Second document, recently it is added. Second document, what it says, along with this, you should justify before the registrar that, or you should submit before the registrar that, in your union, whatever you want to register, from your organization. Suppose your organization in which you are working, I said, let there are like 1,000 workers are working. 1,000 workers are working. Now, you should prove before the registrar that at least like a 10% of this workforce are the members of your union. That's it. 10% in the sense 100. They are the members of your union. That you need to submit. So these are all, say like all their name or other things, I mean details should be submitted, their signature or so those things should be submitted before the registrar. Understood?
Yes, sir, it's clear now.
Suppose in entire organization there are just like 50 employees. 50 employees. Now what we need to calculate? Whether
10%.
this provision is applicable 10%, 10% of 50 in the sense it comes to 5, right? Whether it will suffice for the registration.
No, sir.
Law says that no. That's what they made it to one more provision. See further. Naomi, can you read it?
Yes, sir. Provided further that no trade union of workmen shall be registered unless it has on the date of making application not less than 7 persons as its members who are workmen engaged or employed in the establishments or industry with which it's connected.
Exactly. See here, suppose if it is a small group, say for example 100 employee or 200 employee or 50 employee, now along with this that like a 10%, this condition also need to be satisfied. What is that? At least like 7 members while making an application, at least like 7 members they are the what they are the members of your union. That you need to prove before the court, before the registrar. Workmen shall be registered unless it has on the date of making an application not less than 7 persons as its members. In our example, in a previous example we have taken, suppose if there is a 50 employees, if you take 10%, it will not satisfy like this condition, 7 members. What you need to do, this particular 10% is not at all applicable to that. Now along with 10%, of course, like it comes to like 5 people. Now this section says that, or this part says that at least there must be 7 members. 7 members. If this is the case, you need to prove that at least there must be a 7 members I mean 7 workmen are the members of your union. In our example, we said Naomi want to form her union. She want to form a union, and we said now in a previous example we said there is no doubt, since like there was 1,000 employees and 10% in case if you take, and it comes to 100 and it will satisfy almost everything. Now the naturally question comes, the work she was doing, there are just 50 employees, and in case if you take like 10% of it, it comes to just 5, and it will not suffice. It satisfied this condition. In order to satisfy this condition, what is that? At least she need to take 5 plus 2. 7 members must be there. 7 workmen must be the members of the Naomi's union. That's it. Union. So 3 conditions here. 3 conditions. Once again, I'll explain. If you really mentally present in this class, what I'll do, I'll explain it in again. First condition, what is the first condition? Anybody would like to tell me the first condition?
Sir, the member should subscribe in the rules of the trade.
Who is this madam?
Sir, this is Sanchita.
Ranchita?
Sanchita.
Sanchita. Yes.
Sir, at least like 7 members, they have to, 7 members or more, they have to subscribe in the rules of the trade union.
Good. So one condition says that while applying before the registrar, so 7 members must subscribe their names. They are the subscribers. Fine. So they are the subscribers. To which they should subscribe? They must subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union. That's it. Okay. That's the first condition. What is the second condition?
So then they have to.
Yeah. Anyone?
They have to justify before the registrar that at least 10% of their members are working in that industry or the establishment.
Correct. 10% or 100, whichever is less. Because suppose if there is a 2000 employees are there in an organization, 10% it comes like a 200. Whether 200 should be there, need not. If there is a 100, that also sufficient, because 10% or 100, whichever is less, must be the members. Okay. Third condition says that suppose if it is less, at least 7 workmen must be the members. That's it. This is the three conditions need to be satisfied. First and foremost condition, mode of registration.
No.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand the difference between the first and the third point.
First and the
third point, because
first it is very much mandatory. They are not just members. They are the subscribers. In the sense, they must subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union. See, suppose those are all not just a member. Suppose in case if you in our class activity, there will be some committee, right? Some committee. In committee, there will be like some leaders, right? Secretary, president, something like. And there will be some other members, right? Accordingly, in a union, these 7 people, we don't say that they are not just the members, they are the subscribers. I mean, they they formed the rules of the trade union on object and those things. And 7 members must subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union. This is what the requirement under the law. Last condition, third condition, they must be at least 7 members. They must be the members. That is members, ordinary members. Just by paying like some amount of money, they can be the members. That's it. Both the conditions need to be satisfied. Not only this condition, but also like this conditions also should be satisfied. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move ahead. Anybody want to read this? I think only few people are interacting here. There are some people, they're totally not at all interactive, and I think like they're not interested. I don't know. Personally, I don't entertain such kind of things. Because where is like some people, Anand, where are you? I have not heard about you. And at least like interact, and you are nowhere in a discussion. And you are part of, and in case if you're not interested, tell me. You're not interested. And at least like tell me like you understood or not understood at least. Anand, have you understood?
Yes, sir. I have understood, sir.
Can you brief me like the like 3 conditions what we discussed just now, and how you can apply before the registrar?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please.
Yes, so the first condition is that 7 or more members must be, they must subscribe their names to the rules of the trade union.
Okay.
And the next condition is that at least 10% of the workmen must be registered, or 100 of the workmen, whichever is lesser.
Okay.
So they must be registered on the date of making the application for the registration.
Okay, fine, fine. Fine, Anand. One more, Deepika. I heard Deepika, are you there?
Yes, sir.
You are a topper in a class?
No, sir. Navami and Anand.
Okay, because you people should prove that you are the topper. And interaction should happen. And I don't like this kind of. And there are some more people. I think like even Neelima. Who's that Neelima?
Sir, yes, sir.
I think like you are not at all interested. Huh? You are not uttered even a single word so far. What you understood, Nilima? So far, have you understood
Yes,
at
sir.
least like the Industrial Dispute Act? So many important concepts we are discussing, like very very interesting concepts. And where? No, where? What does it indicate? You are not interested, or yes? You should create an impression that you should interact. At least, or some of the people are asking questions, and what you understood? Have you understood at least? Now, I mean, Neelima, can you tell me just how to or who must appoint the registrar? Just now we discussed about appointment of the registrar. Why the appointment of registrar is important in a trade union for the purpose of the union?
Who must appoint the registrar is the appropriate government shall appoint the person.
Okay.
Like, and also the appropriate government may appoint as many additional and the deputy registrars as well.
Okay.
And also the appropriate government is specify and define the local limits within which any such additional or deputy registrar shall exercise and discharge, like the functions and powers.
What exactly the functions of a registrar?
Yeah, whatever the documents he gets, he should verify that and register it.
Okay. No, whether his registrar role is restricted to registration, or he can even settle the disputes.
He can even settle the disputes.
Is it? That's what you are not understood. See, I said the very purpose of forming, I mean, appointment of a registrar, just for the registration, all formalities of the registration, he should comply. That's it. And how can he settle the dispute? And we discussed when we were discussing about authorities to settle the industrial dispute, whether we discussed about registrar?
No, sir.
Then it is the common sense. Keep engaged. Fine?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Who is that? Krishna Bharati? First time I'm hearing a word. Krishna Bharati. She slept, I think. Krishna Bharati. Janita, I'll come to you. she's asking some question. Krishna Bharati. Okay, this is what will happen. Sanjana.
Yes, sir.
Can you read it?
Yes, sir. Oh.
To whom you are waiting simply. So whenever I say like read it, like at least like interfere and you just read. That's it. Yeah.
Provided further that no trade union
See,
of...
you don't know where we were. That shows how much you engaged. That shows. You don't know where we stopped.
Sir, I thought next slide.
Yeah, see, so such a loose people I don't like. Huh? Yeah, read it. Second sentence, second paragraph.
Where an application has been made under subsection 1 for the registration of a trade union, such application shall not be deemed to have become invalid merely by reason of the fact that at any time after the date of the application, but before the registration of the trade union, some of the applicants, but not exceeding half of the total number of persons who made the application, have ceased to be the members of trade union or have given notice in writing to the registrar dissociating themselves from the applications.
See now whether applications becomes invalid or not. So that is the question. So now, second. See, you applied, Janet, I'll come to you. I'll address your question. Now, you applied before a registrar for the registration. So what we did, 7 members they subscribed their names, and also say for example, in our example we discussed like 100 workmen, they are the members. They are the members of your union. So you now like you satisfied everything, and now you want to submit before a registrar for the registration. You submitted the application. Application also there is a form under the requirement of this act, form number A. Form A. You submitted before the. Now it is pending before the registrar. Now there are some crooked people. What they'll do? Now they will change their mind. Now they'll apply. Say, suppose not all out of like 100 members, there are like almost like 30 members. What they'll do? They'll write it to the registrar and they say that we don't want to be the members of this union. Now question comes, so what exactly the validity of this application what they submitted, whether it is valid or not? Because while submitting the application it was valid. Now since like 30 people they withdrawn, so it comes to 70 which will not satisfy like the conditions what we discussed. Now question comes whether the application what they submitted, whether it is valid or it is invalid. Is it invalid? That part just now we read, it says that suppose this is a situation, the part of the employees, part of the members, in case if they apply before the registrar for the withdrawal, or in case if they becomes ineligible, now question comes whether application is valid or not. The Trade Union Act, this act says that still this is valid. Just because of part of the employees, in case if they withdrawn, so it will not make the application invalid. Still it is valid. However, it further says, suppose out of 100 members, in case 50% or more than 50%, let out of 100 members, now 60 people says that apply before the registrar that we don't want to become a member, and they apply before the registrar that we want to withdraw. Now this application becomes invalid. this application becomes invalid. So we are talking about validity of the application. Once if they submit, later in case some of the members, in case if they withdrawn or apply before the registrar, whether application is valid or not, still becomes valid unless and until if there is a 50% or more than 50% is withdrawal. That is the interpretation of that provision. You understood, or I should explain it again? Understood, or I should explain it again? Shubhra, I should explain it again?
No, sir. Understood, but I just wanted to read that again, the slide.
Slide, you want to read it again? Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, right. Once again, you can read. Anyone want to read?
So I will read.
Yeah, please.
Provided further that no trade union of
Madam, second paragraph.
Where an application has been made under subsection 1 for the registration of the trade union, such application...
No, subsection 1 in the sense what we studied under subsection 1. Subsection 1 we discussed 7 subscribers. That we discussed previously. Subscribers, yes. Yeah.
Such application shall not be deemed to have become invalid merely by reason of the fact that at any time after the date of the application, but before the registration of the trade union, some of the applicants, but not exceeding half of the total number of persons who made the application, have ceased to be members of the trade union or have given notice in writing to the registrar dissociating themselves from the applications.
Understood? This particular sentence looks a little complicated, but I simplified it and I said, whether I should explain it again or understood, everyone?
No, sir. Understood. Yes.
Sir.
Understood. Yeah.
So, sir, can you repeat, explain this one?
I'll explain it again. Wait. Before that, I'll address the question raised by Janita. Janita, she was asking for an example again. Janita, you want it right, or you can type it if you want. Janita, you can speak. Yes. Is it clear, or I should explain it again?
Sir, I want the third condition what you want and for the explanation for that.
Which one?
Third condition.
Third condition.
You told first they should be the registrar of the company and the union.
Okay. And I'll do one thing. I'll explain it again, whatever I discussed so far. Now see, section 3 says that an appointment of registrar. Who must appoint registrar? Who must appoint the registrar? The appropriate government. Appropriate government, state or central government. Yes, correct. So suppose the government want to appoint some of the additional or deputy registrar, it is left to the government to decide. Deputy. Clear? So it is left to the government to decide. Now, yes, appointment of registrar is over. Now, section 4 says that how to apply before the registrar. Now, application, I said, one application you should take, that is the form number A. In case if you go to trade union, this one, you'll get form number A. Very simple application. While in a form number A, now, some people should sign. How many people, while applying this application, now one of the first and foremost condition, 7 members of a union, they must subscribe their names to the rules. They are the subscribers, I said. In addition to that, you should also prove before a registrar that in your the union we're going to register, now at least 10% of the entire workforce are the members in my union. That you need to prove. Suppose Janita want to form a union like a Janita union, say like a union J. What she need to prove? She is having now 7 members, so they already subscribed. And along with that, Genit also take into confidence that so 10% the 10% of the entire workforce, so they are the members of Genita's union. That you need to prove. Now you can mute it. Now one more condition. That one more condition I'll skip 7 members in case if I explain that I'll get confused. Now suppose Genita, so now like she applied before the registrar. Let now say for example she let take an example of 70 members. They said Genita that so we want to become a member in your union. 70 people they said, and of course like 7 members already they subscribed, and 70 people also members of your union. Now you applied before the register, application is processed. Now because the registration it may take time, so once if it is get registered nothing will happen. Now application is pending before the registrar. Now when application is pending before the registrar, there are some people what they'll do, they may change their mind. And what they'll do, so suppose say for example, so 25 people said, 25 people they changed their mind and they applied before registrar that so we don't want to become a member. Now drastically the total members is reduced to, what is the number now? 45. Reduced to 45. Now suppose if a member is reduced while making an application, you satisfied that 10% you had a member. Now you don't have the 10% because drastically reduced to 45. There is no 10%, there is just 8% now. Now whether this application is invalid, this particular section says that it will not become invalid, still it is valid in between in case if they withdraw. However, again it says, suppose more than 50% or 50%, what is the 50% of the 70? Suppose more than 35 people, in case if they said that we don't want to become a member, now this application becomes invalid. It's like a mathematics. Have you understood or not?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's it. I think like for today we'll wind up. In case if I continue, I think again there are like a lot of the conditions of such. So in case if you have any questions so far, you just ask me. Very purpose of this Trade Union Act, we are going to discuss about just registration of the union, and for what purpose you can use general fund and political fund, but that we'll discuss. For entire registration process is very important, because tomorrow you may be the consultant, or you'll have to guide the workmen to form like their own union, or you'll be in a position to form your own union. That's it. Yes, I think Deepshika, you want to ask question?
So it is Tushita.
Tushita.